My late mother used to say, you're known by the company you keep. How about the company I'm keeping right here, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, my Lord, what an honor to have the president with us this afternoon. And speaking of keeping good company, every time I see those signs that say Murphy and Oliver, am I keeping darn good company with Sheila Oliver, the next lieutenant governor? Wow. I want to thank our IBEW 164 brothers and sisters and all organized labor in the house tonight. Thank you so much for being such gracious hosts. Not only is the president with us and the lieutenant governor, but my wife of 23 years, Tammy Murphy's in the house. Our daughter Emma, representing our 4 kids, Emma Murphy's with us. And if that weren't enough, my 2 big sisters are keeping an eye on me, coming in to help me out. Dot and Jan are with us. We have 14 days to go, and we can take nothing for granted. First, the other side. First, they left the middle class behind. Then they left the dreams of those who want to get into the middle class behind. And now they've left the truth behind. And they're throwing mud at us, rocks at us. They're making stuff up. They're changing the subject. We have to return with the same level of energy and intensity and clarity of purpose and passion. And the choice couldn't be clearer. On the one hand, more of the same. Another Chris Christie 4 years of failed politics. Of failed politics where the middle class is hollowed out and ravaged, where public education doesn't get funded, infrastructure is ignored. We become more unfair by the day, and we're caught in this awful us versus them vortex. Or we could turn the page and change and embrace new leadership. Leadership that stands for a stronger and fairer economy that works for every New Jersey family. A stronger economy means one that's growing, reigniting those engines that we used to dominate, the innovation economy, the infrastructure economy. Fairness is a lot of steps. Minimum wage getting to $15 an hour. Earned sick leave, not just for some, but for all. Equal pay for equal work, please God. A state that once again delivers real property tax relief to the middle class. A state that celebrates and respects union labor again. A state where college and higher education is affordable again. And a state that will enact comprehensive criminal justice reform in this state, and we will do all of the above. So a stronger economy, a fairer society, an economy that works not just for some, but for all of us. And with your help, and we need your help, I want to be the governor of the state that once again not just grows and is fair, but is respected and trusted, that does big things and stands for smart government, that proves that you can be at the same time responsible and proudly progressive. And being proudly progressive is a lot of things, but I know this. It includes, we will fund Planned Parenthood again, you have my word. We will sign the sensible gun safety laws that have been vetoed time and again and still respect the Second Amendment. We will accept the sad reality of climate change and put forward a plan for a 100% clean energy New Jersey by mid-century. We will be a state again that treats each other with civility. Enough of this shut up and sit down. We got enough problems in substance as it is. No more name calling. And we will have a state whose leadership is inclusive again. Leadership that cares not just about some of us, but all 9 million of us. I'll make this commitment in this hall right before your eyes, Mr. President. Sheila and I will not go to the beach by ourselves. You have our words. And finally, a state that is once again compelling, Whether it's for that young woman graduating college looking to start her career, a young couple looking to start their family, a small or medium-sized business trying to figure out where to put their roots down, a senior, and we have them up and down the state. Do I stay or do I go? That once again, folks say, you got to look at New Jersey. There's something going on there. New Jersey has momentum. Something is happening. You'll make a mistake to not have New Jersey on your list. And it won't just be words that say strong and fair and for everybody. They'll see our progress, and they'll see themselves in that progress, whether it's their career, their family, their business, their retirement. So for all the above reasons, I cannot thank you enough for your help. We need you. 14 days to go. Please follow us. Murphy number 4, NJ.com. Murphy 4, NJ.com. But when you do, I want to warn you ahead of time. You're going to see that we walk and chew gum at the same time. What I mean by that is we're laser focused on what we need to do to get this state back on its feet. Some of what I just said and a whole lot more. But you're also going to see that we cannot ignore what's coming at us out of Washington. So if there's a tax bill, if a tax bill becomes law and we're victim state number 1, we will not be silent. If there's a health care bill on offer that if it were to become law, for different reasons, we're victim state number 1, we will not be silent. When there's a complete and utter breakdown in moral authority in Charlottesville, Virginia, as we saw a few weeks ago, and our president thinks you could get a gentleman's C for moral authority when we know it's a pass-fail test, we will not be silent. And when they're showing our dreamers, we have 22,000 of them, they're every bit as American as Emma and her 3 brothers. When they're being shown the door, we will not be silent. I think you may conclude, as we have, that governors will have never mattered more. Both because there's not a lot of governing happening in Washington. It's going to happen at state and local governance. And secondly, we're going to need a governor with a steel backbone who's prepared to stand up to this president in this Congress and say, with all due respect, Mr. President, you will not do that in the great state of New Jersey. Now remember, one last thing. All the while in the next 14 days, they're going to try to scare people to vote for them. They're going to try to scare people to follow them. That's not who we are. We grew up being inspired by leaders who we wanted to vote for, who we were drawn to. John Kennedy, Martin Luther King Jr., and our honored guest today. I first met the president 26 years ago when he was governor of Arkansas. And I had one of those, in my first meeting, one of those extraordinary, now legendary Bill Clinton moments. A room of 300 people. We were having a conversation, got cut off in mid-sentence. 3 hours later, he sought me out and said, "Hey, Phil, you didn't finish that sentence. What town was it your mother lives in?" And I said, "Oh, my Lord, I am in the presence of greatness." And look at his body of work. Amen. Look at his body of work. As 8 years as the President of the United States of America, amen to that, where we had the biggest uplift of working men and families in our economic history, where we were respected without reservation around the world. And I see that through my own lens and through the lens of the German lens in particular, and our mutual late friend, the great Helmut Kohl. And then the 17 years that have followed, Mr. President, where with you personally and with your foundation, you've pushed back on societal challenges, health challenges, both within our country and around the world, unlike anybody else has ever done. And I've sought your advice and counsel, whether it was when I was the DNC finance chair or a U.S. ambassador to Germany or during this run, and you've never hesitated. And when I asked you a few weeks ago if you'd be willing to come to Bergen County and stand with me, you didn't say, "Let me think about it." You said, "Name the date and name the place." The date is October 24, 2017. The place is Paramus, Bergen County, the great state of New Jersey. Everybody get it up for the 42nd President of the United States of America, Bill Clinton. Love you, man.
Whoa. Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to say, first of all, You just heard your candidate for governor say, I've known him for more than 25 years. And when I met him, he couldn't give a speech like that. That was real juice. Heartfelt, to the point, clear, important. Thank you for coming. Thank you, New Jersey, for being so good to me for so many years and to Hillary in the last election. Thank you. Thank you, President Dan Gumblefore of the IBEW 164. Let me say I was asked in an interview today down in Washington. I was giving a talk to a group of people who are in the cybersecurity business. They're trying to protect you and your records and our electric systems and all the things that Governor Murphy would do to try to modernize your energy systems. They don't want it derailed by some sort of cyber attack. And they asked me, well, what have you been doing in America you really like? And I said, I've been working for 6 years with the union movement to build an infrastructure program, and they committed $16 billion. They have spent $12.5 billion, and the union movement, with no tax money and no business support, the union movement has created 100,000 infrastructure jobs and trained 900,000 people. That's the kind of thing Phil Murphy will give you a governor who will do. So, Mayor La Barbiera, thank you for welcoming me back to Paramus. Promise, I was here before last year. I come here every time they open the door. You should be able to prorate taxes to me here. Why do we come here? Because we think you represent New Jersey. I think if you do well here, you can do well in the state. And they think that if the state does well, you can lead the way. So I thank you. I thank Bergen County Chair Lou Stellato. Thank you very much for being here. And I want to thank Sheila Oliver for making this campaign for Lieutenant Governor. And I want to explain why I think it shows he has good judgment. You actually, as we are learning in Washington, you can talk all you want when you're running, but then you do or you don't. And I've known Phil Murphy a long time. Like you said, he wants to do. To do, you have to be able to work with the legislature, and you have to actually have a clear idea that makes sense when you put it with all your other ideas so they're not in conflict with one another. And you have to go get things done. So to take a leader of the assembly as lieutenant governor is a statement not just of shrewd politics, it's a statement of commitment and ultimately a revelation of character. And when you elect them, you will show something about the character of the people of New Jersey, because I have seen now for 3 or 4 years, the internet is full of people disrespecting politicians. Harry Truman once said that a statesman is nothing but a dead politician. I just met with all the living former presidents. You probably saw we're trying to raise money to help all the people that were devastated, as you were a few years ago, by Sandy in Texas and Florida and Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands.
Thank you.
And every one of them, including the ones I disagreed with, knew that it was one thing to say and another to do. So the first thing I think is important is you've got two candidates that have a record that could stand some comparison. And there's a big debate today about what New Jersey and what America needs to go forward. Most of the headlines are about all the problems. Oh, we have problems. This North Korean deal is serious. Russia attacking our whole system is serious. And what they're really trying to do is not just win one election. What they're really trying to do is to be able to pollute the sources of information so much that there'll be no difference between fact and fiction, truth and lie. And then all this crowd of authoritarians will come along and say, well, since you can't get good information anymore, and since you don't know whether 2 and 2 is 4 or 5, it's really impossible to have a genuine democracy. So you won't mind very much, will you, if we make it harder for some people to vote, or we don't get around to counting their votes, and we don't really need an inclusive democracy. Now look at New Jersey. New Jersey is in so many ways among the most gifted places in the United States. You are. It's beautiful. It's economically diverse. It's human resource rich. It has plenty of well-educated people and a lot of young people coming on. It's been welcoming to people who weren't born here if they're willing to work hard, play by the rules, make their own contribution, pay their own taxes, obey the law. And it's not been very sympathetic with people who want to discriminate on the basis of religion, race, sexual identification, or anything else. It's one of these, let's everybody get in the truck and drive into the future together places. And the metaphor I kept thinking about is, in this election, is Murphy doesn't want to block the bridge. He wants a bigger, stronger, wider bridge. So we can all get on it and don't have to hit our brakes and just drive on into tomorrow together. This is a big deal. Look, you know as well as I do that you've been kind of stuck here. And people in middle incomes have begun to sag. I can remember when New Jersey used to lead the country in economic growth in all income levels. I can remember when New Jersey's headlines were, can you believe this? New Jersey is second only to California in the number of solar panels deployed. There's nothing you don't have. Now you've got a candidate who's a world-class doer, who's full of energy, who obviously believes what he says, who's had enough sense to elect a person most likely to help him have great success in the legislature, select a lieutenant governor. And the opportunities you have and the problems you must confront are understandable, affordable, and the proposals he has made will work. Now, that's clear. So what's this really about? This is really about how we think and how we feel, and whether we think it's worth the trouble to vote. How in the world do we keep winning the popular vote in the presidential election and and have 30 or more governors from the other party? Because they think they can depend on us to stay home when there's no presidential election. They think none of us went to civics class in the 8th grade. Like I did. I never will forget it. Miss T taught me civics. You have to vote in every election. If you want to elect the governors, if you want to elect the state legislatures, they draw the congressional district lines. Why in the world do you think that our politics in Washington have been so paralyzed and pushed to the extreme right? Why? Because people are scared of getting beat in a primary than a general, because they took over the legislatures, they took over the governors, and they overdid the redistricting. Because too many of us were AWOL in non-presidential election years. Now, so it's typical. I'm going to put this one on you. I'm just telling you, you name me a state in this country that has more resources relevant to the future than you do. A state that can produce the best public schools in America. A state that could provide affordable access to good training for jobs that don't require a college degree, for universal access to community college, and for a four-year education that's not so burdened down in debt. And he's even got a plan to let people refinance the debt that's financed at interest rates that are ridiculously high. You know what to do. You've got a good plan. It is achievable. This whole deal's coming down to whether you think it's important enough to show up, or whether you're willing to roll the dice one more time and see if the state's fate could be determined by people who'd rather divide than unite. Look, does every country need borders and laws and rules? Yes. Do we need young immigrants who are willing to work hard and contribute to our future? You bet. Why? Let's forget for a moment about them and their feelings. Think about those of you who are native born. Here are the facts. Like every other wealthy country in the world, the more you give women access to an education and the workforce, the lower the birth rate is, the smaller families are. Doesn't matter if they're pro-choice or pro-life or whatever else. In every society on earth, this is what happens. So we are now down to where rich countries always get. We're at barely replacement level in our birth rate. The Murphys, God bless them, with their 4 kids are exceptions. And we could use a few more like that. Thank you for contributing to America's future. Now, we're all laughing, but let's be serious. Now, what is our future? In New Jersey, think about where you are. Our future is in biotechnology and nanotechnology and material science, which will bring lots of manufacturing jobs back here. It's in all kinds of other advanced technologies, robotics, you got the whole deal. That's what it is. We're good at that here. You're good at that here. But at some point, as the rest of us get older and the size of families get smaller, you must have a flow of people coming in, as long as they obey the law, pay their taxes, do what they're supposed to do. And to accuse him of what I've seen in some of these ads, to scare the living daylights out of people and try to get them to vote based on something that is flat out false, that will undermine your future, is wrong. It is wrong. So, look, I know what it's like to be the first kid in your family to go to college. So I hope I'm the last president who will ever have lived in a home without indoor plumbing. So I'm naturally more sympathetic with a lot of these kids that come here from drug-torn countries in Central America and other places that some people are, because I get it. But forget about them. You need them. Yes. You need them. We need to do this together. The great thing we've got going in America is that we have found a way to be inclusive, to be embracive. Everybody is a nationalist. They're talking about, I'm a nationalist. The question is, are you an inclusive nationalist or a tribal nationalist? Can your nation handle anybody that's willing to show up and play by the rules and stick a hand out and shake your hand? Care when your kids are sick and come help you if the house gets on fire? That's really what this whole thing's about. Do you care enough? You know he should be governor, don't you? I mean, that's not a close question, is it? You know he'll be the best governor. I'm not a kid. Look, I'm not a kid. I'll tell you what matters. I've done this a long time. And when you get all the way to where I am, there's about 3 things that matter. In all the thousands and thousands of things, are people better off when you quit than when you started? Do children have a brighter future? And are we coming together instead of being torn apart? All that, the rest of this stuff is background music. It's like food that leaves you hungry 30 minutes after you eat it. But that endures. You know he should be the governor. You know she should be the lieutenant governor. You know that they are the only team you can vote for that has a chance, a real chance, to maximize the potential of everybody at every age group in this entire state for the future. You know that. Anyone who thinks about it knows that. So, I don't have to say anything bad about anybody. Just look at the guy's life, look at his record, look what he's done, look at her life, look at her record, look what she's done, look what they're advocating. We need to prove you can produce shared prosperity here, inclusive prosperity. Everybody gets a chance. So the only thing is, do you care enough to go vote? Do you care enough to go get other people to vote? You listen to all these ads, these scare 'em ads that his opponent's running. You know what that's really about? I've decided I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to educate people about what's really going on in politics. They're doing that because they think, oh, this is a low turnout election. Oh, people are saying he's ahead in the polls. Oh, I'll have something else to do on election day. Oh, therefore, if I can scare the living daylights out of our so-called base, not a bad word for it, and I can get 90% of them to vote, and only 15% of everybody else votes, I can still win. Go home and do the math. It works. That's what this whole thing is about. They don't expect you to buy the idea that he is seriously advocating a policy that will let dangerous criminals loose in the streets. The idea that cities should take responsible people, not violators of the law, and give them a chance to come out of the shadows to work with law enforcement and with community leaders to embrace a better quality of life for all has broad support in the law enforcement community. It's a bunch of hokum. So when you see these ads that seem kind of wacky-doodle to you, it's not wackadoodle at all. It's really smart. It's, oh, a bunch of those Democrats will stay home. The independents will stay home. The people say, I'll let somebody else carry this load on election day. So if I can just set enough people on fire, if I can get them foaming at the mouth until they need a rabies shot, if I can drive them stark raving crazy, maybe if 100% of the people who feel that way vote and only 15% of the others vote, maybe I can still win. That's what's going on. This is a strategy. This is what happens when you hire these pollsters and you're examining it. But the point is, that's not good for you, is it? It's not good for you. It's not good for your children. It's not, if you're my age, it's not good for your grandchildren. It is no way to run a railroad. Think of New Jersey as a precious resource. Think of it as basically a laboratory for the future of everything that America could ever hope to be. Look at this crowd. Old, young, middle-aged, incredibly diverse. It needs your care. It needs to get up and going again. It needs to have people holding hands, not clenching their fists again. It needs to have people thinking about the future again. I don't know that you've ever had a chance to vote for a man who was a better combination of knowledge, energy, intelligence, and just downright determination. Guy who was born poor, grew rich, didn't forget where he came from. A lot of people do, you know. Say, I made it, everybody else can. Murphy's like me. He thinks, oh my God, are we lucky or what? Every day, every time he looks at his wife, he thinks, boy, I won the lottery. Every time he looks at his kids, he thinks, oh my God, how lucky am I? What I'd like to do is give other people the chance to build that life. That's the kind of leader you want. You don't want somebody... You don't want somebody who can say, well, I made it, everybody else can too, as if the only people that deserve a different life are those who could climb Mount Everest in tennis shoes. You don't want that. You want this governor. You want this team. You want these plans. But you got to show up. And you got to talk to people who aren't here and tell them. I'm just telling you, all these ads are designed to inflame a small percentage of people and get them to the polls, to discourage as many others as possible, and to maximize the chance that everybody else just sort of snoozes off and lets it happen. You can't let it happen. I'll never forget where I was the weekend before I was elected president in 1992. I was in New Jersey at a rally. And one of the people who came to my rally, of all people, was the great singer David Bowie, who just passed away. I was just thinking about it. There were a lot of people who were there that day who aren't around anymore. They were thinking about you. And I want you to think about the people who are too young to vote. I want you to think about all those young parents that cannot be at a political rally because they don't have anybody to stay with their kids tonight. And they couldn't bring them. Do this for all of you. This is not a close question. You all know it's not a close question. The only close question is whether enough of you care enough about your families, your communities, your state to show up and be counted. This is a precious place. The rest of America needs you to shine. The rest of America needs to see what you do. We need you. So, do I like Phil Murphy? Yeah, a lot. Do I have a high regard for him? You bet. Do I think if we were electing a president of the senior class, he should win unanimously? Sure. But this is not a game, and this is not a school election. This is for the marbles. This is for the future of a state and generations of families. So go get it. Show up, bring it home, and celebrate on Election Day. Thank you. God bless you.